Hello everyone. We are getting back into our trig functions. So pre-calc lesson 60 is about factorable trig equations and the loss of solution from zero. It's just as it sounds, it's factorable. So I am going to factor my equations. Okay, so I'm going to just jump into examples. I think it's the easiest way to know this. So we are going to solve the tangent squared of theta minus 1 equals 0, given that theta is in between, 0 and 360. Okay, so I add 1 over, get the tangent squared of theta is 1, and I square root, giving me the tangent of theta is plus or minus 1. Don't forget, you have to use square roots. So we know that the tangent of 1 gives me 45, so theta is 45. We also know it can be over here, which gives me 135. We also know that we could be over here because it's negative, so 225, right? All students take calculus. We're looking at all the positives and negatives. And so it also can be 315. And we stop there because we only go up to 360, right? We can be over here too because we have positive, negative, positive, negative. Let's look at this example. Same parameters. So the sine squared of theta minus sine of theta equals 0. So here I'm going to factor out a sine of theta, leaving me with sine of theta minus 1 equals 0. Now we know that if you have two things that are equal to 0, that are multiplied to give us 0, both of them can be 0. So we get the sine of theta is 0. Or the sine of theta minus 1 is 0, giving me that the sine of theta is 1. Okay, so when we look at our graphs, we know that this point we have 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and 0, negative 1. Okay, so we know when theta equals 0 or 180, sine is 0. And when sine of 90, we get 1. Now, why don't we do 360? We don't do 360 because our parameter goes less than 360, strictly less than. So 360 is not included. 0 is included, 360 is not. Okay, let's keep going. We have cosine squared of theta equals 1, and our parameters are theta is in between 0 and 2 pi. This is where you can have a potential loss of a solution. Take the square root, you get the cosine of theta is plus or minus 1. So we know this is 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. So we know at 0 and pi, cosine is positive 1 at 0 and negative 1 at pi. Remember, if your parameters are in radians, you need to be in radians also. Okay, let's do another example. If we had the 2 sine of x, cosine of x equals sine of x. Parameters 0 less than or equal to theta less than 2 pi. So here's a dangerous trap to fall in. You might be thinking, oh, I'm just going to divide everything by sine of x, giving me 2 cosine of x equals 1. That is not true. You lose a whole solution when you do that. Okay? Instead, what we need to do is we'll have 2 sine of x cosine of x minus sine of x equals 0. Then you can factor out a sine of x, leaving you with 2 cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. This tells us that sine of x could equal 0, or 2 cosine of x minus 1 could equal 0. We know that sine of x is 0 at 0 and pi. Those are two solutions, right? And here we'll have the cosine of x is 1/2, which we know if we have here, let's say we have our 30, 60, or 60, 30 we know that x could be 60 degrees, which is pi over 3. Or we could be in this quadrant here, which would be 300 degrees, which we would have 5 pi over 3. Okay, so there are 4 solutions in this problem. If you divided by sine of x, you would have just gotten where cosine of x was 1/2. You would have only gotten 2 of the solutions. You would have lost 2 of your solutions. Very important you don't do that. Make sure you factor instead of divide. All right, that is all for today. Good luck on the rest of your homework.